Good afternoon, good morning, good night, wherever you guys are. How are we today? I think the audio is working this time around. Simon, Ethan, how are you guys? Lots to unpack, lots to get through. But then again, probably not all that much to get through either. Not much is happening here. Pretty wet where I am. Pretty boring old Saturday. So, yeah, looking forward to ripping in and getting started. Plenty to dissect after practice. Definitely think there was not too many surprises, to be honest. And quite frankly, I think we've got 2 hours to... I don't even think we'll be talking about F1 fantasy for the whole 2 hours, because if you've kind of been in the know the last 5 or 6 days, the template is looking pretty stock standard for this week. So yeah, Mike, how are you? Good to see you. So many crucial decisions. I detect a hint of sarcasm though. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'll throw up the practice times in just a second, and we can jump into what we've learnt or what we haven't from the last 24 hours. So yeah, this is FP3, so probably not quite as useful compared to what I'm actually looking for, but I think the key takeaway for me across all three is that McLaren are the team to beat, without a doubt. I think they're pretty dominant the whole way through. Free practice 1 to 3. Norris topped free practice 1. Piastri nowhere to be seen, but I think part of that was to do with, I'm guessing, a slightly heavier fuel load or some other changes to the setup there. But with so many rookies running, I think FP1 is probably a bit of a write-off. And then into FP2, Lando and Oscar at the top, and then same again for FP3. I think the surprise, maybe not a surprise, but there was, to me, very little difference in the running order. And I mean, take what you see on the timing chart sometimes with a grain of salt, but McLaren, both FP2 and FP3 at the top, then George Russell, Kimi Antonelli, both Mercedes drivers in the top 5 in both free practice sessions. If you go back to FP2, we can see here that Antonelli and Russell and Leclerc making up the top 5. Hadjar, Max Verstappen also in the top 10. So a pretty uninspiring 3 days or 3 sessions, I should say, of practice. We'll go to some questions in the chat, and sorry for the background noise. Go to some questions in the chat and yeah, pick apart kind of what your team decisions are for this week. Doohan or Alonso? Justin, I think Doohan for me, just simply because he's got a slightly more affordable price point and is more likely to go up in value. Peter, good to have you back, mate. Hope you're well. Swapping out Hulk, Stroll and Haas for Hadjar, Doohan and Mercedes. Yeah, I agree. Kev, hope you're well, mate. I'm not with FanAmp this season. I'm just doing my own streams, riding for Formula One, doing one article per week for them. So a lot on my plate already, and wanted to also invest and spend a bit more time also doing my own channel this year. So yeah, that's the reason for why you're seeing more deadline streams over here. Hey, Chriso, how are you, mate? I know you sent me a team lineup just before. Shout out to the world's worst chat. Lineup is close for the race. I don't know, is it? I think it's open. I mean, I can still tweak my team. I'll put it on screen now just so you guys can see. Piastri had a great practice. Not sure Mercedes will be as good. Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with that. I think Friday was a bit of a weird one because Russell wasn't out on track. Vesti was in the seat for Mercedes, and then Kimi had that water pressure issue, which, funnily enough, plagued George Russell in Silverstone last year. So at this point, I don't think there's enough for me to be concerned. I was going to think that if it was particularly concerning for Mercedes in free practice 2 and 3, then I'd just get Red Bull in instead. But right now, yeah, I'm probably going to stick with the Silver Arrows. Budget building for until round 12. I think you can build budget for the whole season if you want. Isn't FP2 more accurate in terms of qualifying? Yeah, it is. It is. Cheese and we've got some more questions this week around non-fantasy related priorities. Yeah, neo-cynical. Cheese and onion or salt and vinegar? I think salt and vinegar for me. And then is cereal or soup? Great question, Michael. Let's put the first poll up. Is cereal a soup? No, we've got. I know. I mean, I'll certainly put fantasy related questions in the chat as well for polls. But I think if anything taught us last week, 2 hours is a lot of time to talk about Formula One fantasy, and for that reason, I'm happy to talk about some non-Formula One topics throughout. Piastri, Russell, Liam, Hadjar, Doohan, McLaren, RB. Yeah, looks good, mate. Looks good. I like that. Yeah, I don't know about Red Bull, Matt. I think for me, even though, I'll throw on my team so you guys watching can obviously get a flavour for where my head is at the moment. But again, this could change in the next 2 hours. This is probably what I'm on. But if for whatever reason my decision in the next 120 minutes switches, it would be Bortoletto and Red Bull instead of doing it Mercedes. Cereal is not a soup so far. -20. Is it worth doing a wild card for McLaren and Mercedes instead of a -20? Yeah, I think -20 is pretty. Yeah, it's a pretty substantive hit to take. I mean, I'm curious to see how many people end up taking hits, because I think this week is going to be quite high. And I think with how the pricing model is structured, I think there are good elements to it. I think there are pretty terrible elements to it as well. Is that so far through 4 races, we're building our teams to preserve or chase increases. Not very reactive to free practice like we were last season. And so I think we're going to see more teams take more -10s, -20s this year to obviously chase those price rises. So I don't think -10s are uncommon this week. I'll be taking one for this team. -20, I think if you've got the wild card, I just use it shiny face instead of taking a -20. But I think it's team dependent. Is it worth a -10 to get rid of Hulkenberg? It depends who for, Ahmed, but I'd probably say Hulk drops in price, so 0.6. Let's say the guy you're bringing in is Hadjar. He's going up 0.6, and I'd say Hadjar's got a higher ceiling. So you're losing 1.2 million in value, and you're probably losing out 5 to 10 points if you go Hulk over Hadjar. So I'm just hypothesizing, Ahmed. You might be eyeing off a different driver, and I think Michael kind of answered that as well. If you want to build budget, then you absolutely should be taking hits. Let's see. Thanks, Radio Paddock, one of the OGs. Drop that like on the video if you're new to the channel or you're a returning viewer. No cereal soup here. Feels. Emily Crane is asking, I have 2 teams. How do you recommend doing the second one in order to ensure one wins? I think for me, my strategy will be, as it has been for the last 2 seasons, my team one will obviously be the team, the strategy, the decision I'm making that weekend. And then whatever second alternative I have heading into the deadline will be whatever I do for my second team. And went to show last season, my team 2 was in the top 3,000. My team 1 had 2016 Fs. So clearly the team 2 was a much better outcome for me fantasy wise. So that's kind of how I played, Emily. I think if you're looking at, some people might want to just purely build budget for their team too. I think that's quite a popular approach. So yeah, probably one of those two is pretty standard. Zakaka, do it in Mercedes or Bortoletto and Red Bull? I'm on doing a Mercedes right now, but I think Bordeaux is perfectly fine. Ish, how are you, mate? Good to have you in the stream. As always, appreciate the support, my man. Should I go? And Jeffrey's in a mini league where they're all focusing on points. He's focusing on budget. I think, yeah, Jeffrey, I think just go doing, Doohan and Russell for that lineup. Should I run Tsunoda and Ocon or Russell and Bortoletto? For me, Russell and Bordeaux, because I think Tsunoda's going to drop, and I think Ocon will definitely drop in price next week. Thanks, Matt. Thank you for the love. We got some Hadjar, the dark horse of Formula One-ish. Can put Antonelli in there as well. Yeah. Hadjar, let me tell you something. He is a talent. Hadjar is a talent. Called it last week. I was like, Hadjar is going to be on everyone's F1 fantasy shopping list this week, and bottomed out at 4.5. Scored very well in Japan. Probably will score well again in Bahrain. He looks so good, doesn't he? And yeah, I think in comes Isaac and Jack, and out goes the window licker and Nico Hulkenberg. Does Lightning McQueen have life insurance or car insurance? I'm going to close out the serial poll. We'll probably put Ethan's question of Lightning McQueen in just a second. Can confirm it's not a soup. No, cereal. I don't think it's a soup. I don't think so. Oh, hang on. Did I close the poll or did I hide the poll? I don't know. It's not here anymore. Anyway, so yeah, this is kind of what I'm doing for. Let's go to Team Calculator. And I think like that's kind of just reaffirming my judgment call right now. Mercedes and McLaren, two highest scoring constructors. Pretty good value, points per million wise for Mercedes. And I think, yeah, McLaren and Piastri, all of the suggestions are taking a -10 for me. So that's more or less the approach for my team. Gasly, probably not for me, Pranav. Not this week. We probably want to see him. I'll go to the budget builder for Gasly. Like, he's the lowest likelihood of increasing in price. So I think he won't be viable until after Miami. But I think it kind of goes back to the ongoing question of do we build budget or do we focus on points? I think if Gasly was in isolation a good point scoring option this week, then perfectly fine. But he's not a good point scoring option and he's not good in value. Yeah, I think on differentials, Harry, I think the best differential for a budget building team would be to do the Red Bull constructor. They're the lowest owned constructor, 11%. And if you can afford Bortoletto in this last slot, I think this is what my team 2 will be. If I wasn't going doing Hadjar, Mercedes, it would be Bortoletto and Red Bull. And I think a couple of people in the chat were also talking about Red Bull as their second constructor this week. Who's predicted to rise in price? Both Haas drivers, Hadjar and Doohan, are the most likely in the B tier drivers. Hey Orlando, how are you, mate? I think, yeah, Matt, you're right. I think Mercedes is like, there is a degree of concern for sure. I think the water leak issue is a problem and there's understandable reservations around if Mercedes can actually perform in warmer temperatures, because we know how good they were in colder temperatures last year. Australia was wet, Japan was wet, China was not really that warm. So if they can deliver in Bahrain, then I think that kind of doubt of temperature for their tires, their car, kind of goes out the window. But we'll have to wait and see. Right now, I've seen enough in practice to be convinced they're worth a shot. Bernardo, good to have you back in the chat, man. Thank you for swinging through via Brazil. Which constructor? Let's talk about some mid-tier or some B-tier constructors. Hitansh is asking Alpine Racing Bulls or Williams. Probably... I want to say Williams, but Michael's kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, are they going to really be worth their price? And for me, at this current point in time, I don't think they will be, simply because we've yet to see anything impressive from Sainz. Albon's done pretty well. Point scoring in all 3 Grand Prix, if I'm not mistaken. But Sainz had that DNF in Australia, looked off the pace last week. I'm sorry, I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'll keep it on screen here. But yeah, Williams, I'd like to see their price come down a little bit more, because what are they at the moment? Like 13? They're 14. So they're still going up in price, but you're probably getting similar production for 6 million less in Haas or Racing Bulls. Haas in particular. But I mean, they looked very strong in China, so that's why they're a bit higher up. Called Hadjar a legit talent after that save he made to avoid the crash in the tunnel, Monaco. Yeah, that was an insane reaction, Ivo. I think sorry, I've lost my train of thought here. Yeah, I think that was kind of what put Hadjar on the map for non-F2 followers. I'll throw up one more poll before we actually do F1 fantasy related polls. And I want to take inspiration from one of the questions asked in the chat, which was, does Lightning McQueen have car insurance or life insurance? All right, back to the chat. Emily asks, what are your overall thoughts on Aston Martin right now after the news Dan Fallows has left the team? Emily, pretty terrible option in F1 fantasy. Pretty terrible option. I wouldn't be going near Aston Martin at all. I have 2 teams. Should I do both McLaren Mercedes or one McLaren Mercedes, one Ferrari Mercedes? I mean, why not go one Red Bull Mercedes Derpy Cake? That's what I'll be doing. This is my team 2 lineup, but I mean, yeah, go Ferrari. I think the thing about Ferrari is that they are most likely going to drop in value, or at most go up 0.1 million on the team calculator. So 40 points is pretty standard for a constructor to score. I personally think that is achievable, even if Leclerc and Hamilton are kind of between 4th and 6th. All they need is a fast pit stop to really push, or a fastest lap to push them right up to the 40-point threshold. 65 is probably out of reach this week, but I think they'll be much more appealing in Saudi Arabia. Tricky track, and they're 2 very experienced drivers. If not, Limitless on Miami could be an option, or certainly right after. And that's why I've got the wild card, because I think a lot of people will carry McLaren and Mercedes through Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, even Miami, whether it's Limitless or not. And then for those that haven't use the wild card, I think it'd be very advantageous to wild card into a Ferrari lineup post Miami. So I think anyone that's got the wild card has got a. Oh, sorry, I think the poll was wrong. That was yeah. You're right. Sorry, that the poll was wrong. Sorry, I'm kind of on autopilot. Car life. That's what happens when I try to multitask and answer questions at the same time. There we go. Sorry about that. How do I hide that? Okay, yes, car is life. Yeah, Behrman or Ocon? I think Behrman for this week, Kirkley. I think it's Behrman's got to reach a lower threshold for a max rise. Ocon, I don't think 7's impossible, but he'll absolutely be I think a likely sell for me after Bahrain. I'll probably move into either Fernando Alonso, or, which is kind of crazy that I already know what my moves are before we've even finished Bahrain for Saudi, but Alonso potentially, probably not Lawson. Bortoleto Bortoletto and Alonso, maybe. I don't know. Alonso, maybe not. I'll have to wait and see. I guess his threshold's extremely high. That's the problem. Hopefully the pole's working this time. First team got Charles and Ferrari. Need like a -20 to get rid of them. Keeping wildcard after Miami. Yeah, Ahmed, I think I would just -20 now. I mean, sorry, wildcard now if you're taking -20. I think the question I have around people taking -20s this week is, if you've already used it, then I think it's probably more of an argument if you're trying to negate price drops. But how many times will we be taking -20s this season? I'd almost think, even if you think you'll take another one in the future, why not just use it now and then take the -20 down the line? But I think it's, again, very kind of team dependent what your strategy is. Should I take a -10 and switch Lando for Oscar? I personally think you could probably switch. Yeah, I think you should probably switch Oscar in for Lando Norris, because I think the thing is with Lando and Oscar this week is he's got an extremely low threshold, 15 points, easily attainable. Obviously, you got that 10 in Australia, but that's because he spun out. 15's a P9 in qualifying, and you've got to finish in the top 5 in the race, which I think in the McLaren is pretty easy to do. And Lando, I'm assuming, look, if you're running Lando, he's got to get 40 points. Non-sprint weekend is going to be slightly harder to do. And also throw in the fact that if you're running Haas or a V-Carb or a Williams for budget building, the minus, let's say Oscar goes up 0.3 and Lando goes up 0.1. The 0.2 difference is already offset by running the Haas for that 0.6 when you could get a constructor in for 0.3. I know that's probably a little bit of mental math to process, but I personally think that I think Oscar's worth it this week. Budget, but worried about doing in the next week. Yeah, Ryan, I think that's the thing for me as well with Jack. He's obviously got 2 very good races under his belt for a rise. He's going to be a 50-50 decision for me. I wouldn't be surprised next week if I'm getting in Bortoletto for Jack. Jack could be a 1-week punt. The thing is, I'm on 2 transfers this week. I'm unlikely to roll one into Saudi Arabia, and coming out of a likely limitless in Miami, I wouldn't have more than 2 available anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of my strategy approach there. Can't decide between Doohan and Ocon. I think Ocon's just as likely to score 7 as Doohan is to score 3. And if we go to the odds, so this is the same table. The analyst has just put in the likelihood of each of these drivers getting the corresponding price rise. So, for example, Hadjar has a 93% chance to go up 0.6, whereas Bortoletto only has a 1% chance. So that's kind of, that's kind of how I would interpret that. And I think if Blood Czar, I think that's the guy in the chat, Doohan, I think has, a pretty similar likelihood to Ocon to go up the maximum, even though Ocon has to score more points. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure is the template Ferrari, Mercedes versus Red Bull? Yeah, it's Aeroblade. It's McLaren I think the template for this week is what I've got on screen here. That's going to be the most popular lineup heading into the deadline this weekend. You might see some people with Bortoletto and Red Bull. You might see some people with Russell and Haas, Antonelli and Haas. There's going to be still quite a few people that have Haas or Racing Bulls as their second constructor. But this lineup on screen is the most popular just for the points upside and the corresponding budget gain. Should I do budget building for one more week? I'm only just short of Mercedes. Yeah, I think if you're short of Mercedes, then I would just focus on running Haas or Racing Bulls. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Should I go Antonelli in Bortoletto or Behrman and Doohan? Snehan. I think Antonelli and Bortoletto, but I think that would also change your constructor choice, if I'm not mistaken. Like Antonelli and Bortoletto are always going to outscore Behrman and Doohan simply because Antonelli's in a better car. I have a very low budget from a rough season start. What about 98.5? What do we think about Piastri, Russell, Ocon, Hadjar, Behrman, Mercedes, Haas? Yeah, Jonathan, I think that looks good. For 98.5, I think that's as good as like most teams could do. The only other alternative you could potentially consider would be, instead of Russell, swap Russell and Haas out for Red Bull and whatever you can afford in that driver slot. So it might be a Bortoletto or a Doohan. Yeah, I think kind of Orlando, that's the approach. 1 week punt is kind of the approach for Jack Doohan, then take Jack out in Saudi Arabia, move in Bortoletto. In the template, yeah, that's it. Red Bull or Mercedes, I'm on Mercedes, Owen, but I think Red Bull's perfectly fine. Are you using any chips this week? None for me, John. None for me. With McLaren Aero, exactly. Which is better to pair with McLaren, Red Bull, Ferrari, Mercedes? I think right now it's Mercedes. If we're looking at budget, Mercedes or Red Bull. If you're looking at points, I'd probably put Mercedes again. Mercedes is probably the best constructor to pair with McLaren this week. I had this up before, but Mercedes are cheaper than Ferrari and Red Bull and still are expected to score marginally more points this weekend. So that's why I like Mercedes. Who can be 5 drivers if constructors are McLaren and Haas? Well, Aman, why don't we do that right now? And I think, like I said before, I think there are going to be teams that have this kind of lineup in. I'm just short for George Russell. If you can stretch to him, you could almost do that, right? Like, you could do something like, again, my budget's probably not as good as other people's. This is probably more of like a base variant. So, this kind of lineup, if you're going for McLaren Haas or McLaren Racing Bulls. Wildcard for me, Sarah, is going to be after Miami, most likely. My approach here would be to position my team for as much possible budget gain in Miami. And I'm not suggesting I'm 100% on Miami. I'm thinking I could also push it out to a non-sprint weekend. And the reason for that is, it's a bit nuanced, I will say. We'll get to that in a second. Why don't I just walk you through my strategy first so we don't go off a tangent. For me, wildcard will be, I'll try and position my team for budget gain over the next 2 weekends so I can accrue more value on Limitless, because on Limitless you get the value increases or changes of your non-Limitless team, but you get the points of your Limitless team. And then after Miami, if I've got a driver like Jack Doohan or a Haas driver I don't want in my team, I can just wild card them out. By that point, Ferrari's disqualification will be off their rolling average. So I also think I could potentially position my team to bring in Ferrari with McLaren. And that way, people that don't have a wild card available after Limitless will only have 2 transfers to get to Ferrari, which is going to be pretty tough to do. So I think for me, that's wild card will be the week after Miami, or maybe later in the season if for whatever reason Mercedes is still an attractive option as a constructor. Thoughts on Bametti? Heather Bridge. I can get the template with a wild card for -20 and leaves me 0.1. Worth it? Yeah, I'd say it's worth it. I'm going for budget building my team 3. Hitachi, I would probably go with the... I think Alpine are not that great for budget building, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they're the worst. I wouldn't go near Alpine for budget building. If you're going budget building, I'd be going V-Carbon and Haas as your 2 constructors. If it's pure budget building, V-Carbon Haas. Should I have Antonelli, Red Bull, Haas, or Racing Bulls, Haas, or Russell, Alpine? I go the Antonelli one. I was thinking swapping Stroll and Sainz and Williams to have Piastri, Behrman, Hulk, Bortoletto, Hadjar with McLaren, Mercedes, but I have 0 left. Yeah, Mazuris, I think the McLaren, Mercedes lineup for those drivers is great. Cheaper with points and no-brainer. Yeah, Mercedes for sure. How would you improve over the template with 106.4? This is what I'd be doing if you don't want the Mercedes template. I'd be doing Get out of here, Gabrielle. I'd probably be doing Bortoletto and where's probably Behrman. I think, yeah, I'd be doing this. I think Bortoletto is the less popular driver between him and Doohan this week. Why not Limitless in Miami? Yeah, so a great question. I think for me, I'm not going to do it justice trying to explain why Limitless is advantageous, but I'll hopefully see if I can explain my point in the F1 Fantasy Tools season statistics. Also, get out of here, Gabriel. Exactly, Ethan. So let me just change the filters. Select all, save. So this is the case for not going limitless on a sprint weekend. In China, the popular pick, I think, was triple McLaren, some Mercedes and some Ferrari with Max. The problem is, though, in the sprint race, drivers that score or that actually start further back and make overtakes and positions gained are naturally going to score more points than drivers that start and finish in their top positions. If we go to the China sprint race, this is the sprint race because that's what I filtered for on the screen here. So just the sprint race statistics. You can see Gasly, Lawson, Sonoda, Hadjar. These guys all scored close to or more than drivers at the top. Obviously, Lewis won the race. I think he had fastest lap too, didn't he? He did, yeah. So like you take the fastest lap out of Lewis, he's 8 points here. Gasly, Lawson, Sonoda, Hadjar, like what's this? 4 out of the top 7 scoring drivers in the sprints were starting at the back. Whereas a driver like Leclerc, he started 5th, finished 6th, loses a point. There's not many points on offer in the sprint race for the top finishers compared to the Grand Prix. So why am I going where am I going with this? Because if you're able to pick the drivers in the midfield that make those overtakes and positions gained in the sprint race, you're naturally going to score more points than their top team counterparts. So that's why the argument, if I understand it correctly, for some people choosing to go limitless on a non-sprint is if you can predict the top 5 drivers in the top teams where there are going to be very few overtakes on a non-sprint weekend and just score the highest. And I think, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this justice, but there was a Monza sprint weekend 2 years ago, 2023, and none of the midfield drivers on the non-sprint, it was a non-sprint. So it was in Monza. None of the midfield drivers scored all that many points, but all of the top 5 drivers scored between 20 and 40 points. So the gap, I think, kind of what I'm trying to get at here is on a non-sprint weekend, if your delta between the limitless team and a non-limitless team is 100 points, this is a non-sprint weekend, is 100 points, that's actually better than using the limitless on a sprint weekend where the delta between a limitless team and a non-limitless team is only 75 points. So it's obviously, yes, you're going to score more points on limitless because there are more points available, but you've got to look at it as well, kind of where can I bridge that gap? Where can I make more of a gain in scoring points? And that's why non-limitless weekends to some people are an attractive option. For me, it's just more certain to use it in Miami because you know there's going to be a surety of points, but that's kind of the explanation. And Japan, yeah, exactly, Orlando. A lot of people did say to use it in Japan because the top 5, the top 6 drivers were so clear cut. You can see Leclerc, Antonelli, or Russell, Leclerc, Piastri, Verstappen, Norris. These were like clear-cut best 5 drivers. The next top scoring midfield drivers only had 8 points. So that's where you're going to make those gains. Hopefully I explained it well, but that's kind of the logic. Logic is you want to use it at a non-sprint weekend if you're going down that path where there are not going to be many points for the midfield drivers. So yeah, Zakaka, Monaco, Hungary, they kind of stick out to me potentially. Anyway, I'll go back to the chat. I know I missed a few contributions there. That was a bit of a tangent, but hopefully it made sense and gave a bit more context. I created a new account after the DNF disaster in Australia. My new team has 106.4 million and doesn't have a wildcard used, Michael. I wonder if it will end up ahead of my team 1. How far behind are you in points though, Michael? That's my question. All right. Get out of here, Gabrielle. Is it worth keeping Albon? Probably not for this week. I'll throw my team up. I'm not even sure. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do, but Rain is also live. So drop in and say hello to Rain as well. One of the GOATs in F1 Fantasy. That was not what I meant to do, but not to worry. Julie, is Piastri, Antonelli, Doohan, Hadjar, Bam, and McLaren V-Carb a good combination? Yeah, I think it's good this week. How about going Piastri, Ocon, Behrman, Hulkenberg, Stroll, McLaren, V-Carb, swapping out Hulk and Stroll to Hadjar and Antonelli? Yep, that looks good, Ryan. Is it worth going limitless? Yeah, I think I answered that. But yeah, low overtake. I'm not, yeah, exactly, Orlando. Like, I think it's difficult on limitless because I think you do have, it's hard to predict which drivers in the midfield are going to score more points. So naturally, people are inclined to use it on a sprint weekend because you know the top drivers are going to score. Like the chance of the 5 drivers you predict or choose in your limitless team are more than likely going to be some of the highest scoring drivers unless they DNF. It's just obviously if you choose not to go limitless on a sprint weekend, you've got to want to guess which midfield drivers obviously bridge that gap. So it's a bit of a guessing game, but yeah, I'm curious to see if we see people choose to use it at a non-sprint weekend this time around. Is there a team better than the template? Yeah, I think I answered that, Winton. It would be this one. This is the non-template team on screen here. Is it worth holding on to Sainz for budget? No. If you own Sainz, I'd move him out. He's not really that impressive fantasy-wise at the moment either. Let him drop a couple more 0.6 million increments, and then I might think about him. That's kind of why Alonso to me appeals in Saudi, because he's really falling in price. Where is he now? He's he's like 5th lowest, isn't he? He's 4th lowest. Like, he goes down another 0.6 this weekend to 6.4. Well, let's just say this is my team in Bahrain. I'm like 99% confirmed unless we get pre-qualifying news. Then my possible move in Saudi Arabia would be Jack Doohan out, Gabriel Bortoleto in, Esteban Ocon out, Fernando Alonso in, potentially. Or it'd be one of the Haas drivers. Like, Ocon could have a blinder in Bahrain and I'll take Behrman out. I can still afford Fernando. And I've got, I may also not go Fernando. I'm probably being very premature just because he's likely to drop again and again. He's just not looked that great. Yeah, great question, Sarah, around Jack Doohan. So we'll bring up the geezer. Actually, I'll tell you what. I'll bring up a tweet I posted during the week to explain the implications for Jack, because he is going to be. He is certainly an asset. An asset which has had a bit of attention. Sorry, I'm just trying to find the tweet I posted this week. Yeah, so this was a tweet shared by Leapsfrog, who won F1 Fantasy last year, actually, a former world number 1. Definitely worth a follow on Twitter if you have Twitter and you're part of the fantasy community there. So essentially with Jack I tried to use this example for Yuki Tsunoda. So to understand obviously the Jack Doohan implications in Miami if I use limitless then. So this driver, or this person, 50th in the world, had Yuki Tsunoda in China, then used limitless in Japan, and Yuki Tsunoda as an inactive driver. This is Yuki Tsunoda V-Carb. If he, if I can get my words out, as an inactive driver, the limitless team did not receive the minus 25 points penalty. So if you're inactive, so V-Carb Tsunoda, Red Bull Lawson, potentially Jack Doohan in Alpine, on limitless, you wouldn't get the price drop, or the limitless team didn't get the price drop for Tsunoda and didn't get the minus 25 assigned. So for that reason, you could carry Doohan through limitless. It wouldn't affect your budget. It wouldn't affect your points. And then you'd move him out the week after. Hopefully that explains it. Why do you want to go for Ferrari after Miami? Simply because I mean, it obviously depends on what the car looks like. We need to see how that new floor looks in Bahrain this weekend. But to be honest, a lot of expectations around them turning it around. Look, if they look terrible, then I'll just stick with Mercedes. Like, they're the best for fantasy points. They're the best for fantasy gain at the moment. But between them and Ferrari. But if for whatever reason Ferrari turn it around with these upgrades, they could be an option. I'm not booking in any transfers, but I think they could be. Yeah, they could be an option. Is it worth holding? No, I think I answered that around signs. Sorry, I'm trying to find my mark in the chat. You can't transfer on Limitless, though. You can't make a transfer before Limitless because the transfers will reset. You can't like pre-plan transfers the week you're also using Limitless, because as soon as you activate Limitless, the team will just reset to the team you had the week before in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, this will be my final team. I'll throw it up on screen one more time. Behrman. And yeah, exactly. Limitless on a non-sprint weekend, such a differential. That's why like Tom Popnetman F1, who was top 100 2 years ago, he used the Limitless on a non-sprint weekend, that Monza weekend I was talking about, and he did really well, as did I think the winner of the season that year. I think his name was David. But yeah, it's a differential, and that's the thing. You've got to play a little differential sometimes to obviously win. Does no negative negate transfer changes? It does not. No negative only affects the scoring on the weekend and does not reduce or negate the transfer penalty. Ocon Alonso is a done deal. Potentially, yeah, Martin. Potentially. What's my budget? 104.8, I'm pretty sure. It was 104.7? It's 104 point something. 104.8, yeah. But you can get the template for this weekend for one short payment of 103 and 103.2. Yeah, this is the template. 103.5. Are you taking -10? I sure am. Do you think for the template team, Ocon or Alonso? For this weekend, Ocon. And yeah, sorry, I think I missed the question that Orlando's done a really good job of answering. I'm trying to find the question so I can... I guess you're seeing the scroll on the screen here, but essentially, yeah, the reason for Limitless in Miami is because kind of how the budget building is in this game is we all start with 100 million, right? We can afford, let's call it one premium driver, one premium constructor in the first race of the season. As we accrue value, we'll accrue, 20 to 30 million over the course of the year. By the end of the year, most of us can afford 2 premium drivers and 2 premium constructors. So the advantage of obviously using Limitless in the first couple of sprint races of the year is because you can cover off more premium assets that the non-Limitless teams cannot. So for that reason, going for China, going for Miami, going for Belgium, I think is the last sprint in the first half of the year is going to be popular for that reason. Does anyone know the highest budget cap anyone has ever gotten in F1 Fantasy? I think it was Leapsfrog, the fellow I just had up on screen here. He had 140 last year, but that was because he pretty much started building budget from the first race before people even knew what the price change algorithm was. So, yeah. Absolute genius, that man. Absolute genius. Porto, Behrman, Ocon. I think it was Ocon, Behrman. Yeah. Are you taking -10, Gina? Yes, I am. Worth taking -10 to get into McLaren and Mercedes. Yep, I'm doing that, Zach. So by all means, do it too. What are some differential teams different than this template? I had Red Bull. Actually, it wasn't Bortoletto. It was Jack. I think Bortoletto as a B tier driver, I think he's a great differential. More the negation of a potential DNF from Jack Doohan. I think Red Bull a great alternative to Mercedes this week. That's kind of it. I think in terms of differentials, you want to be targeting drivers that have a likelihood of a chance rise, a likelihood of a price rise, if I can speak English, without obviously risking the heavy price drop. So that's why Bortoletto is probably my favorite pick of the bunch in the B tier. Maybe Stroll, if you want to hold him for another week. You could still get a 0.2 increase. And then in the drivers, George Russell for 2x alternate. And then in the constructors, it would be probably Red Bull for me, and then Racing Bulls in the B tier constructor. I think, and to answer your question, Silent Sinner, it's more if I'm behind, I'll naturally be using those differential picks to try and gain ground. I was doing that last year a little bit. I was, pretty badly burnt by a few DNFs and ended up having to go with Sainz for a few races. So that worked out sometimes, but he also crashed in Baku and in Brazil. So it kind of didn't work out quite as well. Theoretical highest budget. I have no idea what the theoretical highest budget for the season is, but I think someone's done calculations in the Fantasy Tools Discord. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, let's say hypothetically it's whatever the maximum price rise. If you ran 7 B tier assets, gaining a maximum of 0.6 every week, like, I don't know the math. We've got 20 races to go. So what's 3.6 times 20? That's 72 million plus whatever you've gained so far. So yeah, it's a bit, but like by that point, you're probably down on points so much you won't be able to catch up. I would prioritize 2 premium constructors over 2 premium drivers. By what race would the highest budget owners take 2A assets and 2A drivers and 2A constructors? I'm guessing we will start to see, I think if you're able to get even into Antonelli, like I think you just don't want to go off McLaren though. Like the optimal lineup is, but like think about it though. I've only got 15 million and Yuki, like Yuki's feasible. Yuki plus, like let's go Bort, let's go Jack. So I'm 4 million off Yuki Tsunoda. But realistically, Yuki doesn't look that great. So let's say we're angling for Kimi. I'm 7 million off. So that's going to be tough. Anyone that can get to Lando, Oscar, McLaren, and Mercedes, like that's going to be awesome. But that would cost, I don't know. I think I can't even get to Lando right now. But even with 4 slots absent. But I think, even if I couldn't run 3 other slots, I would just to avoid DNF. But yeah, I'm 2 million short plus, let's call it 5 in each of these. So 17. I don't think we'd be getting to, the triple McLaren and Mercedes until the last few sprint races of the year. But yeah, you're right, Michael. 170 million, like that's never going to happen. Does the price changes based on the previous week's team, Daniel? So if you activated Limitless in Miami, you'll get your Saudi price. You'll get the price changes of whatever team you had in Saudi. Piastri, Steven. So McLaren and Haas. Should I swap Haas for Mercedes and Albon to Bortoletto? Yeah, I would do that, Steven. I'd prioritize 2 premium constructors. Yep. If I had to choose between Ocon and Behrman, who are you choosing? I'm choosing Behrman because Ocon will probably be a transfer out next week, whereas Behrman I don't think will be. Like Behrman, the fact he has a higher likelihood to rise in price means that he's also going to have a higher likelihood of going up again in Saudi. Whereas Ocon will likely have a price rise this week, whether it's a 0.2 or a 0.6, but then his 2 clusters will probably move down. Like you take Stroll, I think this is like a great example. Hulkenberg may be a little bit of an outlier, but Stroll's a great example. So Stroll's had his like lighter blue shades of bubbles on the 2 right-hand columns and is progressively moving down. So we may see Stroll, if he scores another 2 points, have the lighter blue shades in the 0.6, 0.2 in the next few weeks. I think we're going to see the same thing for Ocon. After this week, his lighter blue shades will start moving into the 0.2s, and then maybe after a couple of weeks, he might move then into the negative 0.6. Oh, right. Can't wait for Alonso to be a viable asset. Me neither. For my differential team, I'm going McLaren, Racing Bulls, Piastri, Ocon, Bam, and Hadjar, then contemplating Russell or Antonelli budget. But Antonelli's the same as Russell tier-wise. They're both A-tier assets. So like Antonelli's not going to increase in value more than George Russell will. So I'd just go for George Russell on that basis, Jess. Haas vs Racing Bulls, probably Racing Bulls this week. Just because Hadjar looks good, whereas Bam and Ocon were kind of anonymous. Should I take a -10 Bingus? Yeah, I would. I mean, I'd do it. I'm doing it. So, yeah, why not? Okay, that's interesting. Reuter, however you say it, Ryder, the analyst, the guy who does all of these calculations for fantasy tools. He's going McLaren, V-Carb, Piastri, Russell. He's betting against Antonelli. That's interesting. That is interesting. That is interesting because I guess team calculator. What if we force include V-Carb? Yeah, okay. And if that's 191, 2.6. So it's, yeah, a 10-point difference. And I guess he's chasing the price rise. Is he that confident V-Carb can get it done? That's the risk, though, of running midfield constructors, is that they've just naturally got a much higher risk of a DNF. So it's always something that's going to hang over your head. Lawson, I mean, let's go to what were the Sims saying? I guess Racing Bulls is 5th this week. 5th in quali trim, 6th in race trim. I mean, they're a standout 5th best option, I think, this week in the midfield. I'm not sold on Williams. What do they say? I missed most of practice today as well, so I don't really know what's been said around Racing Bulls. Let's do it. Best midfield constructor this week. I'm curious because I think Racing Bulls feels like the most competitive, but I'm curious to see like how many people actually agree with Williams or Haas over V-Carb. I think Racing Bulls will win the poll. I'm just not sure by how much because, you know, there's been a bit of talk around Williams for sure, and deservedly so, but I'm not. If you were forced to keep Stroll or Hulkenberg, who would you keep? Stroll, based on what you just said. Yeah, Michael's hit the nail on the head. Mike, I need to make you as a moderator, my friend. You do a better job of answering questions in the chat than I do half the time. -20 for McLaren, Mercedes. Revision Guru, I think if you've got a wild card, just pull it. If not, I'm not sure -20 is worth it. I just go for V-Carb if you can get to that without a -20. Yeah, my team will be, I'll bring it up again. Isaac, where art thou, Isaac? And then, Bam, yeah, that's my team. Riders stats for race week 4. McLaren, V-Carb, Piastri, Russell, Ocon. McLaren, Mercedes, definitely a solid play. Yeah, I think so. I think it's line ball. It's really going to come down to whether Antonelli can actually drive well. I mean, he's driven well so far, but I mean, Ewan was saying this a little bit earlier in the week, and I kind of agree with him that the last 2 weeks he's had his scores inflated pretty significantly. I think we'll really see Kimi taper off the next couple of weeks. May even see him enter like the price decrease territory because he's got driver of the day in China. So Australia, like, not taking anything away. That was an incredible debut. 32 points. But he started from pretty much at the back, so he drove through the field. Wet conditions make it easier if you don't crash as well to get more overtakes. In China, he had the driver of the day, so an extra 10 points to that 29. In Japan, he had the fastest lap, so an extra 10 points to 23. So you normalize these scores. I think Kimi's probably closer to 20 points in Australia, 20 points in China, and 10 points in Japan. Google AI thinks Ryder's YouTube channel is mine, Rob, and links you to it. That's so funny. That's my search engine optimization, Ethan. SEO all the way. Another thing, been thinking, Red Bull over Mercedes if Yuki qualifies somewhat badly. There's a good chance he'll be able to do some overtakes. Would that help overall gain? Points gain, maybe. But I haven't really been that impressed by Yuki so far, Matt. So I'm not sure he's for me this weekend. Buy me a Rolex and I'll do it. Too funny, Michael. Too funny. I have to buy myself one first. Hey, Tom. How are you, mate? I hope you're well. How much of a gap is too much if you continue focusing on budget and points with the second constructor down 40 points from first? I mean, yeah, that's the thing. I think people have kind of had Haas and VCARB for a couple of weeks. They're obviously seeing the strength that a Mercedes McLaren has in terms of the points department. I just think that, yeah, I think points at the end of the day, it's a fantasy game that's based on points, not based on how much budget you can build. Obviously, one comes with the other, but at the same time, I'd be very surprised if there's any point in the season after this weekend or next. My guess is my thoughts on Ryder, unless things go terrible for him this week, is that he may well just be having racing bulls to carry them through if he goes limitless in Miami and accrue that value then. I'm going to end the poll. That's my thought process. He's obviously got Russell, so I think he's banking on Kimi obviously having an... I mean, I don't mind that, actually. I don't mind that. It gives you a lot of flexibility, I will say. He's a smart man. Because... I mean, I have been saying, like, there's nothing wrong with going for a B-tier constructor this week. And he's obviously going down this path, right? I mean, I can just squeeze in George Russell. I can do this. I mean, I wouldn't say no to it. It's more... He carries this through. Like Kimi, as I've said, his score is overinflated. He's probably closer to 10 to 15 points. And what do the sims say? I'm guessing they're probably between 10 and 15 points as well. Yeah, they're 15 on the nose. So... I think for me personally, it's a matter of, does that give him flexibility to carry this through Saudi Arabia? You're obviously not carrying Jack Doohan, who's DNF prone. He will probably move out Behrman or Ocon the following week. And then, potentially he could go limitless in Miami and you've carried a B tier constructor likely to gain 0.6, or he swaps him out for another one that's on the rise. Okay, the Rebel car's already broken Yuki already. You can see it in his body language. Yeah, it probably has, Ivo. Probably has. So I'm scrolling through the chat just to make sure I can answer all the questions. Orlando, I'd probably get rid of Hulk myself. That's me personally. Do you suggest moving Stroll to Ocon to get -10? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think it's worth a -10. I don't think they outscore the other by more than 10. I don't think the budget's that significant because you're probably moving Stroll out next week anyway. I mean, get Stroll out of there, but I think Hulkenberg's a priority transfer ahead of Lance. And, I've been on the stroller coaster for 3 weeks. I had him in Australia. And he's had a good run. What's your 3-race score? What would be 3-race score? I think I'm at 400 and something. I mean, everyone that's followed me on the channel knows I got pretty badly burnt in that disqualification in China with Ferrari. I bloody cannot stand. Yeah, so these are my ranks. Something's not working, but 440 for the team one. Not great. I think if you've got more than 500 points at this point in the season, you're looking pretty good. But I lost 120 on everyone when Ferrari DNF'd. So can't do much about that, regrettably. Anyway. Ocon and Bamman are both likely to lose the 0.6, just like Hulk this week. Well, I mean, that's the thing. I think, like, naturally, we're going to be making a lot of transfers regardless. So that's why... Hey, Aston, how are you, mate? And yeah, I like that. I like that lineup too. Best team for Limitless this week. Yeah, there's probably... I think it's probably Triple McLaren, George and Mercedes, Max, Leclerc. Yeah, if you can't afford Bam and Chris, I would just get Bortoletto instead. Penny for your thoughts. Sorry, I'm all over the shop with the chat, but I want to make sure I get to everyone. I'm just going to fast fire these questions. What's the average points total going around? I'd say it's probably 470. Are you playing F1 Predict? Yeah, I stopped playing after the second week. Penny for your thoughts. Thoughts on Ferrari, Mercedes, Piastri, Antonelli, and then the bottom three for 4A assets. Budget permits 1 to 2 races. Could be nice, Orlando. It could be nice. Right now, I'm comfortable with McLaren, though. I can do Riders comp without a penalty, but McLaren, Mercedes cost me -10. Do Riders. Yeah, hey, Aston. Sorry, mate. I skipped over your thing. Best team for Limitless, I think I answered. Best budget gain, it's probably the V-Cub and McLaren lineup. I think, yeah, Luke has got the right idea. Racing Bulls instead of Haas. Yeah, second RB car is a demon. Understatement of the century, Ethan. Does anyone else's left side of the F1 fantasy website get cut off? I have to just adjust my screen and widen it or narrow it. But maybe that's just me. Luke is asking, I could get Russell and Hadjar without a hit or do McLaren and Hadjar and do it for -10. I'm doing the second one. That's my preference. But, you know, this was my team last week. I probably should have... I think I'd be more inclined to... So what was my team? I mean, I could... Yeah, I had... Yeah, I can't do that. I'd have to take a hit if I wanted George. How risky do you think it is to select doing in the context of a possible driver change? I don't think it's as risky, Jacob, just simply because he won't... his inactive driver penalty won't be... it's a transfer out at some point. It's a transfer out regardless of what happens. But that's why Limitless in Miami appeals, because if he's sacked before then, you just use Limitless then and you don't get hit with his inactive driver penalty. Do you think Mercedes McLaren is better than having McLaren driver twice? Yes, I do think, Oliver. All teams are under 500. My highest is 480. That's still 480, still pretty good. Ahmed, 106 budgets, very nice. Russell Ocon, 3 transfers. Freddie, I'd try and get to... Actually, I think that's perfectly fine. The other option would be to maybe, if you're, I think at 101.3, Freddie, you probably actually wouldn't be against the idea of maybe building budget for a couple of weeks. So you could potentially move into Racing Bulls from Mercedes, and maybe upgrade Russell to Piastri and another driver with 3 transfers. Highest ranked team, did you use a chip already? No, I've used no chips this season on any 3 teams. I mean, there are some teams that haven't used any chips and they're in the top 20,000 because they've just picked the right 2X and the right constructors every week. I mean, like, I don't know, Ethan, if you've used a chip for that 700 point team, but I think there's quite a few teams in the top 10K that haven't used a single chip. Snivens, Piastri, Behrman, Doohan, Hadjar, Bortoletto, McLaren, Mercedes. Yeah, looks good. Looks good to me. I think it'll be fine. Is this chip weekend? No, it's definitely not. Bahrain, low DNF track. Quite a few overtakes. I think it'll be a good race. The bar is bloody low after Japan, though. Hey, Jeremy, how are you, mate? Thanks for dropping through. McLaren, Haas, Norris, Ocon, Stroll, Behrman, Hulk, 2 transfers. I'd probably move out Hulkenberg, Marshall. I'd probably just move out Hulk, move him into Hajar, and then use 3 to transfer into Mercedes in Saudi. 3x on the highest team ride on budget. Got it. What should we think about in terms of setting up for Saudi Miami? Saudi, I think it would just be a 2 transfer week. Try and get as many risers into your team if you're limitlessing in Miami. If you're not, then I wouldn't worry about it as much. But I think a lot of people are trying to position their team for budget growth this week and next so they can limitless in Miami. At Sean Hodges. Added myself. I look loony. Yeah, you're right, mate. You're right. Should I sell Alonso? I should. Yeah, I would. Sorry, I'd sell Alonso. I'd take Behrman over Ocon this week. Jeremy, you shouldn't be the one asking for advice from me, mate. You're smashing it this year. Piastri, Russell, Behrman, McLaren, Haas, roller transfer, or Piastri, the McLaren, Mercedes. I mean, almost everyone's doing the Piastri, McLaren, Mercedes lineup this week. So I do think it's I think it's probably I'm taking a -10. Piastri Russell's nice. That's what Ryder's doing. He's doing the Piastri Russell Jeremy and then has McLaren and Racing Bulls. And that's why I like to Theophile, am I saying that right? Theophile, is it better to take a -20 for my team or a -10 for Riders? I'd probably go Riders. He's always right. And he's top 1,000 in the world the last 2 years. So top 3 last 3 years. So yeah. Is anyone playing the F1 Predict game this season? Because, I haven't really. There's been a couple questions about that. Why don't we do the formula? A formula to guess. Let's make my predictions. Predict the podium for the 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm going to say, let's bet against the odds. Let's go Lando Norris, George Russell. Oscar Piastri, George Russell, Lando Norris. Next. Who will take pole position? I'm going to say Oscar Piastri. Maybe I want to put the 2x on Oscar. Who will qualify highest? I'm going to say Ocon. Oh. What was the single lap? Behrman was better in free practice 2. I thought Behrman was better in... No, it wasn't. Okay. I wouldn't look at FP1. I'm going to just go with my gut. Let's go with Ocon. How far will Pierre Gasly get in qualifying? Q2. Which team will record the fastest pit stop? That's where I find Fantasy Tools is going to help me out. Let's go. Fastest pits. Hang on. No, that's not the right one. Ferrari, they've been pretty good this year in the pits, haven't they? I mean, let's see. I want to look at removal. I mean, now's probably a good time to do your predictions if you're doing that too. Let's go VCAB. Let's be different. Oh, that's Racing Bulls, sorry. Oh, okay. So, yeah, right. Let's go Racing Bulls. Why are their pit crew so good? Who will finish the race ahead? Let's say it's Bahrain, low risk track. Lawson. It's probably going to be Orlando. Whether there'll be a safety car or a VSC. Yeah, I think they won't be. No, I don't think. Oh, first turn chaos? Who doesn't love a bit of first turn chaos? Who will set the fastest lap of the race? It's going to be a McLaren driver, so I'm going to go Lando Norris. How many classified finishes? Let's put 18. Who will be ahead in the championship? Red Bull. Back to home. All right, well, that was easy. I didn't even put my 2x chip on, so I'm going to apply that there. Okay, F1 Predict is locked in for another week. Back to the questions. Kimi Yuki or Williams driver for my 2x? Kimi Oliver. Stroll, Hulk, Hadjar doing? Yeah, Timothy, I think that looks good. That's what I'm doing. How risky do you think it is to select? Oh, my bed hair is kind of chaotic today, isn't it? How risky do you think it is to select doing in the context of a possible driver change? Sorry, I am probably world number one at losing my mark in the live chat. I think I answered that, Jacob, but I don't think Jack's that risky. If you're limitlessing in Miami, if you're not using limitless in Miami, he's probably more of a risk, but he's a transfer out regardless. Stroll is probably, I would say, dangerous. At Saudi Arabia, he's dangerous. He doesn't have a great record at Saudi. I think he's fine for another week. Oliver, if you've not got any other fires, or if you've got too many fires to put out. Current team, 107.6. That is a monstrosity of a team budget, Sean. Piastri, McLaren. I just get Mercedes in there. I mean, it's probably, my guess for that lineup is probably, that's an interesting team because you've got like very high assets. I'd probably go Albon, Hulk, Williams out, Mercedes, Hadjar doing or something like that in. Should I go Norris, Piastri, Hadjar doing, Bam and Williams V-carb without a -10 or with a -10 Piastri? Oh, right. Okay. Norris, Piastri, Williams. I'd go the McLaren V-carb, Manazzi, Piastri, Antonelli, McLaren and V-carb. Yeah, I'd do that. Oh, right. I see what you mean, though. Yeah, I'd still go for the -10. Doin's make me nervous. Might just go, yeah, Gabby or Doin. I mean, Matt, George both asked. So it's not me. This is not my team. This is not my team. Oh, Disco Heat, he's back again. He's back again. We're starting out with fast food again, aren't we? Let me throw the team up so you guys are not misled. That's my team for this week, most likely. Why no Hadjar? No, definitely going Hadjar. Bortoletto is the low risk play. Doin is probably the 1 to 2 week punt at most. And yeah, nothing wrong with playing the wild card. Good day. Less than an hour until the deadline. Get those transfers lined up. Piastri, Antonelli, Bam, Ocon, Hadjar, McLaren, Haas. Is that good? I think it's great, but probably... I mean, Forever Mighty, I'd probably go Norris to Piastri and upgrade Stroll. Because that's 2 transfers. Upgrade Stroll to a Russell or Antonelli. Let's start strong. McDonald's fries or KFC chips? I forget we've got some Australians in the chat. Love to see that. Start a poll. So I'm going to call them as fries, but just because I know there are some Americans in the live stream too. So for the avoidance of doubt, we'll go here. I don't know. I'm a bit of a controversial one here. I do love the... I don't love a soggy chip, but I do love a soft chip. That sounds a bit sus though, doesn't it? Yeah, I'm more of a McDonald's man myself. Final team is on screen. Mayank, would you take Mercedes or Red Bull? Ben, I think I'd go Mercedes. What is VCarb? Racing Bulls. Racing Bulls is VCarb. Good day. KFC chips clear. I mean, Nando's is pretty nice. I don't think it exists in the US, and I don't think there's many of them in Australia, but they are an absolute plague in the UK. KFC chips suck. Yeah, I'm here for a McDonald's breakfast. I'm here for a McDonald's breakfast. Give me those hotcakes. Inject the hotcakes into me. They're pretty good. I'm gonna throw the team calculator up. So yeah, current team and then the best team. I'm gonna exclude VCARB. Just about every lineup requires me to take a -10 this week. So be that as it may. I've not had the landed fries, the Lando fries. No, the Nando's loaded fries. I've not had them. Loaded fries at In and Out are alright, but I'm more of a I just like a plain chippy. I just love a plain chippy. I love to see we've got some soggy fry allies in the chat. Rank. Oh, funny. KFC. I mean, I don't know. I think it depends on where you are in the world, because KFC in Australia is very good in my opinion. KFC in the US is terrible. So that's why I'm not really a dirty bird. I don't love the dirty bird in the UK, in the US, but I have it every so often when I'm back in Australia. Breakfast bagels are pretty good. I'll try and get to some F1 fantasy questions in between the fast food questions, or the fast food fantasy questions. What's the logic between Ryder going VCARB, Russell? I think it's to avoid keep VCARB for the budget building, and Russell is, I think Antonelli as well. He's probably overperformed the last few weeks, so that's why Mercedes doesn't appeal quite as much. That's that's what I would assume. We have Nando's in Houston. Oh, I didn't know that. I'm down there for work every so often, so I'll have to track that down. RB Russell, Piastri combo, or Mercedes Hadjar Lawson combo. I'm going Mercedes Hadjar. Harsh. First thing I heard was soggy chip. Sorry, Elliot. That's a bit of a sus term, isn't it? Is there a way to undo a -20 after submitting the team without wildcard? No, you have to use the wildcard. Good idea to take out a -10 to get rid of Hulk. Yeah, I think it's a good idea to take the -10. I'd use the wildcard if you're on a -20 for this week, because there's probably not going to be too many times this year where you're taking more -20s. You might be, but like, just use it now. Fish and chips or sushi? I'm going fish and chips. Oh no, Australian fish and chips. Anywhere else in the world? Sushi. Sushi is effing good. I love sushi. Sushi Train especially. KFC chips all day over Macca's fries. Really? I'm more of a Macca's fry guy. Did I miss something in the chat? Just go heat, coming with the heat. Do you think Stroll is more of a 10-pack nuggets guy or a wings guy? I think Stroll is more of a Happy Meal guy with the fruit slices. Did you change your final lineup? No, I haven't. This is probably what I'm going to confirm in the next 30 minutes. But I've got the team calculator up here because this is the best team and I have to take a -10 for it. Budget gain, points, the whole shebang. But yeah, Sushi Train gang, what up, Emily? Sushi Train gang indeed. DQ chips? Is that Dairy Queen? I think it's Dairy Queen. I could be wrong. I did a stint in the Midwest. Dairy Queen was it was something. It was pretty good. Do you watch Formula E? No, I don't really. It's funny you say that though, Ahmed. I was just reading up on some articles earlier in the week just to see kind of what the driver lineup was for a few of the teams. And one of Mahindra, who sponsors one of the teams in FE, is a client of where I work. So that was why I was curious to see what the lineup was. But like, off the top of my head, I could probably name like half a dozen drivers in Formula E. I wouldn't say I follow it regularly. I probably I watch the highlights of one or two races a season. yeah, like Nick De Vries, Stoffel. Who's the other guy? Weren't they all at? No, I'm thinking of NASCAR. I think I swear I saw a bunch of drivers at the White House during the week, but not going to get into that. I don't think that was Formula E though. Haas Antonelli. Oh, hang on, Natasha. Mercedes Hadjar or Haas Russell or Haas Antonelli. I'd probably go Mercedes Hadjar, but Haas Russell. I'd probably go VCarb Russell, not Haas Russell. But I think Mercedes Hadjar of the three, Natasha. Sushi Train Gang, where you at? Australian sushi is pretty goated though, I will say. Oh, thanks, Ethan. Thank you for the love, my friend. Yeah, if you haven't done so already, guys, doesn't go far, but it means a lot just for the whole algorithm, the metrics. Won't ever ask for donations, but the like or the contribution to the stream will also always mean a lot. I'm going to close the poll for the McDonald's fries, KFC fries, but McDonald's absolutely cleared KFC, 123 votes. So yeah, it's happy to. Is it okay to go with the meta for -10? Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Team 1 is my team. Why don't in the meantime we lock in my team 2 and team 3? Like these guys are this is probably what my team 2 is going to be. George Russell and what can I afford? Hadjar. Yeah. That's probably my team 2. And what was my team 3? Haas. Like this is a bit of a dog's breakfast though. This team 3, absolutely nothing doing for it. Absolutely nothing doing for it. I wanted to go Red Bull on the other team as well. Oh, I'm just going to chuck a tantrum if I can't get what I want here. So I can't even get Gabby in. Oh, this team stinks. My team 3 absolutely stinks. Why don't we get VCarb in for one more? We'll put VCarb in. This is my team 3, so it's just kind of experimental if nothing else. I'll probably take it for -10 as well. So put Isaac in. Where does that leave us budget-wise? This team is tragic. Kimmy? Because I think that's kind of like booking more transfers in. That's the problem with my team 3. My team 2. I'll lock my team 2 in. I lock my team 2 in, which is going to be what Ryder had as well. Hadjar. So this is my team 2, not my team 1. 0.0, Hadjar, Russell, Big Carb. Yeah, we'll do that. Confirm changes. So that was my team 2. That's what Ryder had. My team 1. Oh, we don't need to look at that. We'll come back to it later. That's my team 1. Oh, did my thing just resize? No, it's annoying. When you're locking in team 1, I'll lock it in 20 minutes. Do you like Indian food? I love Indian food. I had Indian on, what day is it today? Saturday? I had it on Sunday, like 6 days ago. Love Indian food. Thoughts on Red Bull over Mercedes? Yeah, best differential, I think, for an A-tier constructor, Peter. Antonelli is now a premium driver, so the price changes are capped at 0.3. Yeah, I agree. He's been overperforming. I don't think Antonelli is that great of a pick. I mean, have I got the tiers up? I haven't got the tiers up, do I? This is my this is the tier ranking from my Final Thoughts team. So I think Antonelli's solid, but only because of his price. I think he'll definitely drop. I definitely don't think he'll perform as well as he has in the last few weeks. I think, yeah, Meta's okay for -10. McLaren, Mercedes, Piastri, thoughts. Yeah, I think that looks great. Boo bam. What? Mercedes have an engine problem? What? Excuse me? Excuse me? Hang on. Excuse me? According to who? What's the source? David, what's your William and David? Who's? Okay, that's not good. This is deadline panic. If so. No. Wait. Minus 20. Adam's gone minus 20. Rain's gone minus... I think he's gone that one. That's obvious. Wait. What's the... Mercedes with an engine problem? You're not talking about the... Like with their notes? I don't know if that's true. Where did they... William, yeah, let me know where you saw the engine problem on Mercedes. Because, yeah, obviously there was that issue in free practice with Kimi on Friday. But I haven't seen anything more on that. Worth a minus 20 probably is, guys. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything on the... Yeah, I think it's just the water issue. Yeah, panic stations averted. Thank you, Raymond. Love your content. I love your contribution to the stream. Minus 20 hit worth this week. I'm losing that much with Haas anyway. I'm going to start drafting my team for this week. Start drafting a post for my team this week. I'll lock it in. So I'm going to be wholly antisocial, but I'll try and get questions. When am I locking in team one? I'll lock it in 10 minutes. What's worth more, 0.2 budget or 20 points? Probably 20 points. Got it. Yeah, no. It was you're right. It was the water cooling system in free practice one. Yeah, sorry, I know. Think we're on the same page. No Mercedes issues. Yep. Don't worry. Don't panic. I think it was a misinterpretation of what was communicated in the chat, what was confirmed in the live stream. But I still think Mercedes are going to be a go-to this week. So I'm going to go Haas, Stroll, Hulk in for Mercedes, Hadjar, Doohan. Here, yeah. First time in years transfers are done 33 minutes before the deadline. Felix, is that because it's too obvious this week, or because you're actually organised, or maybe not? James is asking, Piastri 2X, Hadjar, Doohan, Behrman, Bortoleto, McLaren, Mercedes, wildcard active. Awesome. Yep, that's the perfect team for this week, my friend. Hopping over to the pre-show. Thanks for the stream. No worries, Zavi. No worries. Thank you for coming through as always. Locked in right before the mention. Nah, Mercedes are fine. Don't panic. I think it was just something in the chat. No surprises here. Yeah, I think most people are locking in their teams now, so I'll get mine up on the screen. We've got 30 minutes until the deadline. I'll probably post my team, shortly. But yeah, I think a few of the other guys are streaming as well. Rain, Ewan, Adam, the usual suspects. I kind of want to go. Yeah, let's see what everyone else did. I know Fantasy Tips, they went an early lock-in. I'm pretty sure this was their team. I think that's what they went. I think that's what Aaron was vibing. Yeah, Adam's got the same team as me. I think Rain's think Rain, has he posted his team yet? No, he's just done the Hadjar one. I don't know if Ewan's posted his team yet. Yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be a bit, like, not boring. I think it's going to be boring, but I do think this week it's like just one of those weeks where everyone's going to have the same team. So the people that score much higher will be those that go against this lineup. That's why, like, Bortoletto, instead of doing DNFs, I don't think he will, because it's an easy track and he is going to do everything he can to finish the race with how much pressure he's under. But yeah, I think I said this before, like, it'll be, funnily enough, the players that have the most to gain are the ones that are probably less engaged. Like, if you're not watching the stream and you're running, let's say, Ferrari, or you're running Max Verstappen or Lando Norris, and someone like Piastri or Russell DNFs, then the Ferraris or the people that own Ferrari and Red Bull are going to have the most to gain, points-wise. Rider template, but Haas a V-carb or V-carb for -10. No, just stick with Haas. I don't think Haas and V-carb are worth a -10. Do you think selling prices should increase by -0.1 like an FPL? You mean like by half? Yeah. Yeah, so like if Hamilton went up 0.6, you could only sell him for 0.3. I think it's a slightly different game in that respect, because it's based on supply and demand, whereas this is based on pure performance. So I don't know if I think it's fine the way it is. Yeah, of course, James. Happy to help, my friend. Need Mercedes on potential for another 2 million budget gain. Yeah, for sure, Felix. Williams good for one more week. Yeah, I think they'll gain a 0.6 pretty easily. Yeah, I think like this is probably one of 3 lineups. The other one would be V-carb Russell or Antonelli if you can't afford Russell, or you could go Red Bull, Bortoletto. Like, I think these are the 3. But yeah, Hadjar is a lock. 100% a lock. Lineup for Saudi, will we have to sell the 2 Haas drivers? I'd say it's likely Ocon is gone. Like, I'm pretty confident Ocon won't be in my team for Saudi. Behrman's probably a hold for another week. That's why I'm like doing... that's why I like Bortoletto. He's just one less driver to worry about, one less transfer to worry about. I think Steiner, if focus on budget, I'd go V-carb. Okay, I'm gonna lock in my team. Thank you, James. Yeah, no, of course. I do try and make the effort to get to every single one. I know I do lose my mark sometimes. I'm scrolling up and down, and the live chat should just flow, but I want to make sure I get to as many as possible. So just means you guys can actually feel like you can contribute. I feel like when I've watched streamers, I have my favorites when I follow, like I watch the Premier League, like I follow the EPL, I play Fantasy Premier League. I'm not very good at it. Well, like I'm okay at it, but I'm not great. And I'll watch the odd deadline stream with like Andy from Let's Talk FBL, Harry, Ross. Like they've got hundreds of thousands of followers. Like they're not going to get to every person in the chat, but you know, it does, I think, build community, and it does encourage more people to contribute to the live stream when you're feeling like your questions have been answered. But like, there's no way in the world if I put something into like Andy's live stream that he'd be able to get back to me, you know? So yeah, this is a small community, but it's a pretty good one. So very grateful for you guys contributing and, you know, making it the community that it is. All right. So I'm just going to set the post up to go live now. Just give me a sec. I'll answer some more questions. Final team is the one on screen here in all of about 10 seconds. Why am I feeling like Bortoletto is better than Doohan? Like, why? I just feel as though it's the budget though. It's the fact that Jack's going to go up 0.6 is what's obviously tempting me. Because budget builder, what does Gabby have to score? It's not what Gabby have to score, it's what Jack has to avoid. It's like Jack just has to I guess he has to get -2. Like, that's achievable. So I think for that reason, it's like, why not just take the punt for 1 week? Yeah. Alrighty, I'm going to fire this off. But yeah, like I said, guys, drop a like on the stream if you're enjoying it. Thank you, Diraj. Thank you. What team do I support in the Premier League? I support Tottenham, which is probably the most tragic thing you'll hear on this stream today. Andy's great, isn't he? Yeah, Andy's the GOAT of FPL. Thanks, James. I live through you guys. The community's great. I do say that. Like, it's a small one. It's a small one, but it's very engaged. I think I'm not trying to be a pessimist here, but it'll never get to the size that the Premier League or FPL is. It's just a global sport. Football's much more far-reaching than Formula One is, but you know, it's got its own little corner of the internet, Formula One fantasy. So pretty happy I'm a part of it with you guys. What do we think of Tottenham? What do we think of Tottenham? We hate Tottenham. Is that how it goes? I'm not really the world's foremost authority on Arsenal chants, but I think we know what we think of Tottenham if you're not a Tottenham fan. Because exactly. Gabby's right. Yeah, I know. Like, Gabby is. You're not booking in a transfer to take out Gabby because he'll just sit there. And the thing is, I think Jack's just the 1 week punt, right? So like, Jack will probably just be gone. Or I carry him through another week. Maybe I carry him through one more week. That's the thing. Like, I think the fact that he's also not a risk to your limitless team in Miami is why a lot of people are rolling him out. All right, I'm going to post my team. I'm going to make the transfers. We're locking in. We've got... Oh, it feels weird to make my transfers 20 minutes before the deadline. DNF incoming. Yeah, I know. I mean, you're right. He's... Ange out. I mean, I'd love to see Ange actually have an injury-free team, but that won't happen. I think he's gone at the end of the season, unfortunately, because I love Ange. Short reason for team one. Mercedes, McLaren, Piastri, pretty strong. Hadjar, very good in free practice. Ocon and Behrman, due to gain price. Jack Doohan needs to score 3 points for a maximum price rise. And also probably doesn't need to be transferred out before Miami. All right, team is live on Twitter. Haas, Stroll, Hulk out. Mercedes, Hadjar, doing in -10. No surprises here. Boring but template for a reason. Fantasy team, BAHRAIN Grand Prix. Cool. Posted and yeah, I'll just lock it in now. If there was any news before, that's the team. -10. Bortoletto's at 9. Wow, okay. That's interesting. Locked in. Hopefully Doohan doesn't bin it. I mean, like, that's the thing. Let's look at your B team. B team's here. It's the one that Ryder has for this week, which I was weighing up between this and Red Bull Constructor. And Thank you, James. Appreciate the love as always. I think like the thing for me is with Jack, why I want to believe just for one race is, he's probably gone after Miami or before Miami. The other thing is, it's for me nice to root for drivers I actually like. As an Australian, I'm pretty forthcoming with my support for the Aussie guys on the grid. I love Oscar, and I think he'll be my set and forget 2X option for this year. So that's why I probably won't need to worry about that. Pray for you with doing. Well, that's the thing. Like, let's go over to. Have they built this in? Have they baked this into the analyses? I don't. The beta. This has not got the. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. This is the team analyzer. Yeah. Interesting. That's not what I'm looking for, but tell you what, I could actually Discord. Oh, I'm not logged in. Or am I? Oh, I don't have the app. Oh, I shouldn't need the app. Screen's gone grey. Oh no, never mind. This is, we'll go to analyst simulations. They should have the DNF percentages for all 20 drivers. Yeah, no, of course, Bortoleto won't lose cost cap. That's the thing. It's more the fact that Jack can gain it this weekend. And look, if I don't like him, I get him out for Saudi and bring in Gabby instead. So what am I looking for? No, that's not what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking for. The DNF percentage. Bortoleto 9%. Jack Doohan 8%. So it's actually, can we zoom in a bit? Yeah, DNF percentage. These are the rider sims. All right, back to some final questions in the chat. Yeah, let's hope Jack doesn't bin it, Disco. Let's hope for that. I reckon Jeremy, there's nothing wrong with going. I think Piastri, Russell, Haas, and roller transfer is perfectly fine because Ryder's done something similar, and that guy's a genius. So I wouldn't doubt that. But the minus 10 one is 100% going to be the popular pick this week. I like the team 2, yeah, exactly. My luck this season has been team 3 outscores my team 1. I don't think I've had a team 1 outscore my team 2 in the last 3 years. So anyway, thank you, Tyler. Appreciate it, my man. Thank you. Any chip recommended? Not this week, Irvin. Not this week. Look, I mean, it's interesting, on the DNF front. I don't think necessarily, Stephen, for example, thinking Jack has a higher risk. I would actually feel inclined to say the same. But Bortoleto as well, very safe driver in Formula 2 last year. Only had a couple of DNFs compared to the rest of he led the grid in F2 last year with the fewest number of DNFs, Bortoleto. So I think 9. I think it's more the fact he's in a really bad backmarket car is why his percentage for DNFs is so high. Alonso Behrman, 100% Behrman. Downgrade to Doohan from Hulkenberg. Yeah, I'd do that. I'd be doing that. Yeah. It is high risk, medium reward. You're right. It's I think, but how often, someone like Jack Doohan, right? Third cheapest driver in the game, stands to gain 0.6 million. You don't really get that too often from your back markers. So I think for that reason, you may as well try and take advantage of it if you can. But as I said, Bortoleto, very low chance he changes in price this week. So I think it's probable that he doesn't gain anything. And in the in the budget builder, I think it's a 5% chance he sees any price rise. Yeah. So that's that's it. Lawson, no, wouldn't touch Lawson with a 10-foot pole this weekend. I would, yeah, go VCARB Russ. I think if you want to, Elliot, I think it's more. I mean, I've done it. I've done it myself on my team too. This is a team that's 100,000 in the world. So it's like I'm very much on board with running VCARB this week. I'm just jealous. I mean, honestly, if I was backed into a corner to get only Bortoletto, like obviously I'm glad I've got a bit more value. But if for whatever reason I didn't have the money to stretch to do it, like I would not be disappointed with Gabriel Bortoletto in my team this week. Because I think ultimately, like I've said, Doohan is a transfer out, whether that's in Saudi or after Miami. He's going to likely have to be moved out. But Bahrain, it's kind of almost a perfect storm for Jack Doohan this week. He's at a very easy track. Bahrain, very low DNF rate, low runoff areas, as Ed's just mentioned. And I do think as well, he's not needing to score more than 3 points to get a price rise. So he only needs 3 points to get a price rise. So it's almost like everything's happening at the right time for Jack for that 0.6. And look, if he bins it or if he has a stinker, it doesn't get the max rise, then we move him out. I'd get wildcard Seema. 15 minutes until the deadline. My team's locked for -10, and I personally think, it's not like Premier League, FPL, where for whatever reason the website crashes minutes before. I've never made my transfers 5 minutes before the deadline for fantasy, but there's a much smaller player base, so I don't think the website's quite under the same stress compared to the kind of traffic that the FPL servers receive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, TVN, I'd take the wild card, my friend. Just -20. Yeah, not really often you're going to be taking those. That's it. You don't have to copy my team one. I mean, like I'm content with my decisions this week, but there's multiple different ways to play this game. -20 full of rookies, so I'm guessing Bortoletto instead of Ocon. We did F1 predict earlier, Yash. We locked in my picks on stream. I didn't use any transfers for Team 3. I'm going to do Team 3, but I'm not exactly excited about it. I'm probably going to do... This is a dog's breakfast of a team, though. Wait, do I stick with Haas one more week? Maybe I should. Just for the budget, because this team stinks. And if I get Russell in here... Doesn't give me anything, does it? No. If I get Hadjar in, what can I get? Kimmy's not that great though. If I went George and then put in Gabby, let's do that. This is my team 3. Team 3 locked and loaded. -10 for 3 drivers. I'm not even sure if that pays itself off. But we'll do it anyway. Team 3 though, so it's no biggie. Merkel Red Bull as 2 constructors with Piastri. I mean, I was thinking about Red Bull, honestly. I'm just not sure Sonoda has quite shown enough yet. I probably will end up with them at some point, because he probably honestly needs half a dozen races to get comfortable in that car. But once Yuki is at ease, then I think there's probably... Yeah, exactly. I don't think right now Yuki is an option, but give him a few more races. He might drop in price because he went down in value last week. What's he currently at? Like 16 point... Oh, he went up, didn't he? He went up last week. Yeah, because he went up last week, didn't he, after that driver of the day. And all B-tiers, exactly. I think... I think Yuki's probably an option later, but not right now. -20 and full of rookies. I go wildcard in Einhorn. Is that how you say it? Would you wildcard from -10? That's the thing. It's tough, hey, because It depends. I think this is not going to be the last time people are taking -10s this season. So like whether it's now or in 5 races, if you're taking another -10, it doesn't really matter if you use the wild card this weekend or in a month's time. So I'd probably just hold it and save it for when you think there's a bigger and a better move. Like when Ferrari, for example, become an option, they're not now, but they could well be. We're going to want Ferrari assets in our team, and it might well take 3 or 4 transfers to get the Ferrari constructor or Leclerc in there, or even Lewis. I'm going to close this because it's making sounds. I think V-Carb this week, Steiner. V-Carb this week, for sure. And yeah, Tyler, you're spot on. I think the 3-race average for Tsunoda has to drop. And the upside for gaining value has to increase for him to become a very viable fantasy option, but it's not this weekend. All right. Thanks, Reed. I appreciate it. I really do. Doing and Russell or Piastri and Bortoletto? Piastri Bortoletto. That's, yeah. Piastri and Bortoletto for sure. What would you do with 105 million? Well, my team's just under 105 million, so probably that. Thank you, Matt. Yeah, I think I kind of covered that off, didn't I? All right, well, let's have a look at Oh, thank you. Yeah, I appreciate it. It is, yeah. I mean, it's a lot of people's first season with F1 Fantasy, and I'm not. I don't like using the word expert because it's a very I don't know. I think expert in a luck-based game is a bit of a stretch, but I do like to be considered more of a pundit than an expert. But yeah, it's hopefully the advice has helped. Nabadeep. 105 million, I'd buy Fernando Alonso's Valkyrie. That's a nice car, hey. I'm going to have a look at everyone else's, all the other content creators' teams this week, and then I'll probably wrap the stream up. So yeah, what did Rain do? Rain hasn't actually locked in his team yet, or if he has and he's on stream. I mean, drop by Rain's stream if you guys are about to drop into his chat and say I sent you, because he'd definitely appreciate it. He and I hung out at Albert Park for the Grand Prix back in March. He's an absolute legend. So yeah, if you've got 5 minutes to spare, show him some love in his chat, because he definitely deserves it. Let's see if Ewan's posted his team. He's live as well, as expected. So many decisions. Yeah. So yeah, Ewan's going exact same team again as me for -10. So as you can tell, us content creators actually love to follow the crowd. Jeez. Rain definitely would have gone with template, yeah. I mean, he and I were talking this morning and he was pretty locked. Thank you, Snivens. I appreciate it. Jeremy's locked. Piastri Russell, he's gone the rider simulation, more or less. Or he doesn't want to. If he wants to retract the message, that's perfectly okay as well. Let's see, what did Adam post? I think he again had the same team, but he took a -20. Yeah, -20. That's, I don't know. If I was in his shoes, I probably wouldn't have done that, but it's subjective. I'm not really. I guess he doesn't have the wild card, so I would have. Tom, again, same, no -10. So, yeah. Fantasy tips. I was chatting to him earlier in the week. Sounds like he's crushing it as per usual. Who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting somebody. Zach and Terry. I guess if you don't know all these guys, they're there you go. Same again. Did he take a -10? I think Zach would have taken a -10 because he had Norris last week. Yeah. Did he use the wild card? Haas, Norris, Stroll, Hülkenberg. Leaps. Yeah, Leaps. Spot on. Leaps, former world number 1. And then Raheem, who came second last year. I don't think, does he? yeah. Well, I mean, he posted this yesterday. Andrew did. So, yeah, this guy came first in the world, for those of you not familiar. And then let's see if Raheem, who came second to Andrew, he posted team. I mean, he was looking. Yeah, we go. He was looking at the same. Yeah, so similar again. Yeah, so popular for a reason. So yeah, that's it, guys. I know 5 minutes before the qualifying, so I might wrap it up. Get those teams locked in if you haven't done already. But I do want to again thank you all for swinging by. For the few of you that remain, it's been another fantastic stream. And as I said, I'll be doing plenty more of them this season. So always drop by, say hello. We can talk fantasy, we can talk fast food, we can talk sport. I think I missed a couple of last minute questions, so I'll try and cover those off. Or maybe not. I think I got them all. But yeah, anyway, guys, I'll do the where are the likes, people. Yeah, thank you, Ethan. Yeah, drop a like before we wrap up. I'll close out in a couple minutes. So I'll get to the last 2 or 3 questions. And yeah, thank you, Obi. Thank you, Jess. What do you think of Piastri, Bortoletto, Hulkenberg, Bamman, Hadjar, McLaren, Mercedes for -10? Yeah, Bernardo, perfect. Go Brazil. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, it's been an awesome stream as per usual. I'll be back with team selection after the weekend on Monday, probably. And final thoughts as usual. And yeah, hopefully I will see you on the stream next weekend. So have a great weekend. Good luck with your teams. And I'll see you all very soon.